welcome to another episode of the Tojo Fitness Podcast.
It's Thursday morning and we're coming to you to talk about all things fitness, diet, nutrition and health related.
Yeah.
And today we've got a very special edition focusing on something which is Jo's speciality. She's particularly trained in this area, but is something which almost all of us will suffer with at some point in our life. Yes, ladies and gents, today we're talking about lower back pain and how to overcome it.
Yeah. So most of us in the time of our life will probably experience some kind of an episode of back pain.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you'll say, oh yeah, I remember that because I couldn't do that. Or I remember that because it was quite painful. Or so most of us during our life will probably come across this episode. Now, often it's actually not because of a specific cause either. So some of us will say, oh, I think it's because I did too much gardening.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we talk to people in the gym and people know that we deal with lower backs, they immediately go, oh yeah, I did X, Y, Z, and will locate it to something which may or may not have been actually the cause of it.
Yeah, so it can be a bit of a puzzle as to where this lower back pain actually occurred. So a lot of people that I speak to will say, yeah, I think it's because I did this. I'm not too sure, but it is recognised and considered to be the most widely experienced health complaint, especially in the UK. One of the most widely experienced.
I think it's so dramatic, isn't it?
It is.
It's something which, when it happens, you immediately
think, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's it.
What have I done?
I'm going to die. My back is broken. And if I do anything, my back will definitely snap in two.
Yeah. So when we look at the figures, statistics tell us that between about 4 to 33% of the population will be suffering from back pain at any one time. That's quite a specific percentage. I don't know where they got those percentages from. I think, in my own hunch, that this is actually more.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at people, one of the things I love doing is in gyms and watching people's body language and outside of the gyms as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things you'll often see with bigger bodybuilders, they'll often be rubbing their shoulders. You know, Jo specialises in lower back, I specialise in shoulders. And they'll often do a set and then they'll rub their shoulders.
Yeah.
And you think, I know what's wrong with you. And other people will be holding onto their hips or just trying to straighten their back.
Like, I'm really bad for people watching. So if I'm out by the sea, I'll be watching people walk past me. I look at their gait when they walk. I also look at how they actually carry themselves. And a lot of the time, I do find that people are actually working round a lower back pain, and you can tell by the way they walk because lower back pain can also turn into sciatica. We're going to cover that in a moment, but it is the second biggest reason for sick leave in the UK.
That's amazing.
Did you know that 4.15 million working days are lost due to lower back pain?
Oh, I can totally believe that. And yet, at the forefront of lower back pain management is exercise.
Yeah.
We live in this environment where we've inherited some pretty bad thoughts, bad ideas about lower back pain from the generations that have gone before, where it was kind of expected, if you have lower back pain, bed rest. Now, I mean, I remember back in the day when that was the advice that was given. If you've got lower back pain, why was that advice given and why is that different now?
Well, I don't think they had the resources for research like we do today. And also you had to have, obviously you had to have guinea pigs. What if we applied exercise to lower back pain? And what happened is that people along the lines of like ACSM, which is the American College of Sports and Medicine, research started, and so you'll actually find that if you do have lower back pain, now I am talking specifically about simple lower back pain here. I'm going to go through the different variations of back pain, but I'm talking about simple lower back pain, and I will come on about to the exercise prescription in a moment. But why does lower back pain occur? So there are a number of potential reasons. Sometimes you can't, like we said before, you can't put your finger on it. You just cannot put your finger on it. Now, here are some of the potential reasons for lower back pain. And number one, you're not going to expect. Number one is anxiety related.
Really?
Anxiety related. So what happens is that our mental health has a direct effect on our lower back pain. Here's the reasons why. It's because when you're in a mental health kind of state of anxiety, perhaps seasonal anxiety disorder, general anxiety disorder, depression, what happens is that our body actually opens the pain gates as our receptors.
Yeah,
so our
sure.
receptors start to open. Now also, it's also related to something called catastrophizing. So what that means is, catastrophizing is when you have a small pain, because of your vulnerability at that time, your body will make it worse than what it actually is.
And that's where a lot of people now are going to switch off and say, you don't understand my pain.
I know.
And we'll enter this vicious circle. Please don't spam us for saying this, because we're all in the same basket together.
I get it.
I put my back out. I know that's not the phrase we're meant to use, but I put my back out doing squats actually about 4 years ago. And it was so painful, and I totally catastrophized it.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if I can never squat again? What if this is going to give me X, Y, Z? And so on. And it took quite a bit of unpicking my headspace to get myself into an understanding of actually what had happened and how to solve it.
That's right. I'm going to be coming on to that and a pain association in a moment. Next ones that can often cause lower back pain, nerve root compression. Nerve root compression equals sciatica.
Yeah, so the way it works is that most of the nerves come out of the spinal column, but they're very, very close to where the vertebrae sit together. And so if there's any compression in there, they compress on the nerves, and then that's absolute agony.
That's agony.
And sciatica is part of that.
Yeah.
There's a compression on the nerve, and it feels like somebody's slicing through your back with a chainsaw. It's not. It's just a little bit of compression on a nerve. And you can feel that running straight the way down your leg, even in the case of sciatica. And your leg can hurt because of a tiny little bit of compression on a nerve. The nerve's not going to snap, your back's not going to snap, but you're in real agony, aren't you?
So, sciatica is a big thing. I deal with a lot of people who suffer from sciatica. Radial pain. Basically, radial pain. So where the root of the pain is, the pain will travel largely down the leg into the calf. You feel like you can't walk. Very, very, very painful. Next one is a possible serious spinal pathology. So that actually means that there has been some damage which has happened to the spine, bone damage, discopathy, so basically disc damage, disc herniation. You could find that there could be infection in there. These two are red flags. These are something which absolutely the GP should be onto, should be dealing with you. But today, like I say, I'm going to be dealing with a simple back pain, also known as mechanical. So mechanical back pain means that the pain changes and is relieved by movement.
So this is what most people say, I've got a dodgy back.
85% of the population have mechanical lower back pain.
Okay, so that 85% of people who have back pain, it is mechanical.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. And this can, what you can find is that this can also be relieved by postural adjustments.
Sure.
So, for example, if you do have lower back pain and you have a postural, you're totally out of alignment on posture. So, for example, if you have a kyphotic back, it means that you've got this hyper, almost bent over at the top.
Yeah.
So especially if you're doing computer work,
Yeah.
you're hunched, and you have this hunch right at the back of the neck there. That can definitely have a knock-on effect. If you're lordotic, you have this hyperextension going on in the back of your spine. Once again, so it's regards to the pelvis. Where does the pelvis sit?
So you can understand, as soon as you understand how the nerves relate to the spinal column, that any change in the spinal column over a long period of time is going to create problems, pain, because of spinal nerve compression.
Yeah, and if you're one of these people that will avoid pain because you don't like it, you will adjust your pelvis and the situation of your posture to take pain away.
Right.
And in that, you create a whole different bunch of problems. Because what happens is in the change of posture, for example, your hip flexors or the iliopsoas. The hip flexors are at the front. They are the ones that help your knee bend upwards, right into the crease of the hip here. And you'll find that if you're in a postural unalignment, the hip flexors could be really, really tight, because the iliopsoas is the one muscle that will connect the upper body to the lower body. It connects the top to the bottom. Now, most of the time I do with my clients, I will do an iliopsoas hip flexor stretch, and they'll go, oh, I'm like, yes, that's because your back's tight.
Yeah, so sitting at a computer, I'm sitting right now at the desk, and my body is in a 90-degree position. My legs are coming out in front of me.
Yeah.
My body is upright, which means my iliopsoas, which connects onto my spine.
Yeah.
And onto my legs, is in a
shortened
position. Now, if I'm holding that position all the time, it's a little bit like I'm putting a peg on that muscle group. And then when I straighten up, I can't straighten up properly, which then tilts my spine forward, which then sends my entire spine out of alignment, and then I start having problems in other places which have got no direct relationship with my hips at all. I can have problems in the back of my head. I can have headaches, migraine, because of what I'm doing with my iliopsoas.
Yeah, everything is all connected. The number one rule for, first of all, is getting rid of lower back pain, is we need to find your neutral posture. Neutral posture. What that means is everything is stacked happily on top of each other the way God created it. That means your organs, your muscles, everything is stacked in the way it should be. Everything works according to plan. Now this, I'm not going to go into this, but this is why obviously yoga, they believe it's so important that everything is stacked in place. They believe the iliopsoas, happy iliopsoas, happy inner.
Yeah, I mean, when you see I always think in terms of that Zen picture of stones stacked on top of each other. And it's an old Zen sort of activity of stacking stones, because you have to be mindful and careful about it. But when the stones are stacked, it's actually very, very stable. You can put a lot of pressure on the top of the stones stacked properly. If the stones aren't stacked properly, you put pressure and the whole thing collapses. And that's a parable of the spine, really.
Yeah, if you find that your pelvis, you're walking like a duck, you got your bum out, your pelvis is like tilted. So a lot of people have a pelvic tilt. Pelvic tilt will obviously equal lower back pain. Just have a look in the mirror, see how you stand. Are your shoulders forward? Are your shoulders back? Is your bum out? Is your bum tucked under too much? So just have a little look at that. And
so it's a little bit like as well the things we wear, the clothes we wear, that can affect things. So girls on high heels.
Oh, high heels.
As soon as you're in high heels,
Eek.
It throws your spine out of alignment.
Yeah.
It puts you in what is called a lordotic position, which is very, very bad for the spine and starts up a problem. So often people who have worn these killer high heels for many, many years end up with back problems.
Yeah.
Equally, wearing a backpack, particularly on one shoulder for a long time, you can end up with issues. And even going back, this isn't a new problem. English longbowmen back in the medieval times, they would have spinal problems and pain because of pulling the longbow, which could have like a 200-pound pull, and it was one side of their body, normally their right-hand side, was pulling back, which put a twist.
Scoliosis.
It was the equivalent of us sitting in front of a computer. It unbalanced their spine. So when I watch you working with clients in the gym, Joe, I often am amazed at how long you spend with them just on postural alignment and starting to undo those knots. And of course, sometimes it's also really helpful to go and see a chiropractor
or physio,
to start working those things out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you're one of my clients and you are listening to this, you know what my number one word is: posture, shoulders back, posture. Because you constantly have to be aware of that. Now I'm going to move on to something called pain association, which is what I started off with at the beginning here when we talked about anxiety-related lower back pain. This is a thing, and it's a bigger thing than what you think. You see, what happens is we get lower back pain, we go to the GP says, right, I'm going to give you prescription. I'm going to give you some anti-inflammatories.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some painkillers. That just starts us on a slippery slope. Don't go there just yet. But our pain association is this. Your belief and experience of pain will affect and can affect lower back pain.
Right.
So if you're one of these people that you say, I just know my back's going to hurt today. I know my back's going to hurt today. Do you know what? You get what you think.
Yeah.
You kind of can bring that on. And so you have people called confronters and avoiders. So you have people who are fearful of pain. And if you are fearful of pain, believe it or not, it makes you more vulnerable to pain.
Sure. Because because it opens the pain receptors?
This opens the pain receptors, yeah. So you also have people who are avoiders. Avoiders are, I will do everything in my power not to experience pain.
Right.
So that will mean that I will adjust my posture to not experience pain. Confronters are, I'm just going to carry on with life and it's going to hurt, but I'm going to get through it. Now, when you apply this to exercise, confronters are those who are active. They will continue doing what they do. Now, rule number one, again, if you have mechanical back pain, here's what I'm going to say to you. Keep moving. If you have sciatica, keep moving. Don't sit still for long periods of time. Keep walking around. Do the exercises that I've put on YouTube.
Yeah, because remember that back issues which aren't serious spinal pathologies are caused largely by these compression of nerves. And one of the issues there is that if you sit still for a long period of time, you're just holding that nerve in a compressed state. And another thing is by stretching, of course, is like with sciatica, the sciatic nerve weaves its way through a whole bunch of muscles.
Piriformis?
Muscles which aren't used very much, they start sticking together.
Yeah.
Imagine like some chicken breasts before you cook them and you've left them too long in the fridge and they're all sort of stuck and welded together.
Yep.
That's what happens to your muscles.
Yeah, they get tight.
And so by movement, the muscles start sloshing around properly together. More slosh, for want of a better term,
Slosh
is produced. More lubricating fluid is produced.
Yes, synovial.
And the muscles work together, slide together nicely, which means your nerve, which passes through it, the sciatic nerve, is going to be much less likely to be pinched.
It flushes through. Yeah. And so, yes, number one rule is keep moving.
Yes.
Keep moving.
If you've got a gym session planned, if you've got a walk planned, if you've got anything planned, and you get, I'm putting my socks on, I've put my back out now, I can't do that. No. I've put my back out now, I must do that.
Yes.
I must keep moving.
Yeah. So here are the guidelines for people with lower back pain. What do you think they are?
Guidelines for people with lower back pain
do you think
is 3 ibuprofen and then lie in bed all day.
Well, here are the guidelines according to the American College of Science and Medicine.
Go on.
These are our top researchers. Now, the guidelines are very similar to the guidelines for healthy people.
Really?
There's no difference. They treat them exactly the same. But slow and steady progression is the key.
Lots of warm-ups.
Lots of warm-ups.
Lots of stretching.
Lots of dynamic mobility. So when I actually train people, I train a lot of people with lower back pain, with perhaps a little bit of disc herniation, etc., etc. I'll always start off, good stretch. But I won't do things any different normally than my normal clients.
Sure. And this is why it's really important to find out exactly what's going on with the spine, and long term, sometimes we'll get people to have x-rays and so on, just to find out exactly what's going on.
Before I start training you, I want to know what your diagnosis is.
Yeah.
If it's simple mechanical back pain, not a problem. We're just going to dive right in, and through the screams, we're going to get you through the other side.
Yeah.
And actually, the people who I work with now, I had a gentleman over lockdown who could barely move from sciatica and lower back pain. Now, he's like, right, what are you going to give me this week?
Yeah.
He's back playing golf, he's active, he's riding his bike. It is absolutely fantastic to see.
I always think lower back pain is often a little bit like when you get a cramp. When you get a cramp, you don't just leave it alone. No, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Just leave it still. It will go. I'm going to go to bed with my. No. You grab hold of that thing. You massage it. You work with the muscle. To solve the problem.
Yeah.
And backs are a little bit like that. You've got to work with them.
Yes. So here are the elements of exercise to apply to those with simple mechanical lower back pain. Number 1, aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise. Cardio, basically, walks, bike rides. There is considerable evidence that continuing with aerobic exercise won't do any more damage. You'll do more damage by having a sedentary lifestyle.
And one of the things which aerobic exercise will do, and actually all exercise will do, is even if it doesn't solve the problem instantly, it starts closing the pain gates. It starts closing your receptivity to pain. It's a little bit like if we were to sit and talk about, during this podcast, the entire 30 minutes, we're going to talk about yellow cars. Because we've spoken about them so much, when you go outside, all you'll see is yellow cars. You'll be super ready to spot any yellow car you see.
Yeah.
So the thing with back pain, or any sort of pain, is the more you become aware of it, the more you're likely to become aware of it. And then all you do is you feel your back, you get out for a run, you have a great run, you've actually forgotten about it for a while.
That's right.
And that's helped reprogram your mind to not see the yellow car all the time and see, actually, there are some red cars and there are some blue cars as well.
That's right. It also will deal with, where we talked about anxiety-related lower back pain, stress-related lower back pain, it will also help deal with those chemicals in the brain as well. Second element.
Yeah, let me talk about the chemicals. Sorry, I'm a chemical man. I love the chemicals.
Okay.
The endorphins that are released, the endorphins, like your body's opioids, they're some of the most powerful drugs on the planet. And by exercising, they'll be released. And they are more powerful than cocodamol, more powerful than opium. There's just nothing like them because they're biologically designed, genetically designed to your body to give you the relief you need. So exercise, far better, and it's not going to give you toxic problems later on.
That's true. Second one, flexibility. So, head against wall moment. I say to people with lower back pain, how often do you stretch? How often do you do your stretches? How often do you press play on that YouTube video that I did that's with lower back pain? And they say, probably about once a week, twice a week. All right. Recommended ACSM guidelines, flexibility recommended 5 times a week. 5 times a week.
I
think pretty much every day.
I turned the big 5-0 just a couple of years ago. And for me now, every day is a stretching day. And I don't just mean a couple of minutes. I'll spend half an hour pretty much every day doing some form of progressive stretching, because without that, you just start seizing up. Remember those chicken breasts in the fridge? Next time you get the chicken breasts out of the fridge, you're going to think about this. They're all stuck together. A little bit of just rotational movement, a little bit of flexibility, and the synovial fluid starts flowing properly, and the muscles start working together. And it solves the whole problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this gentleman that I train, he's in his 70s.
Yeah.
He's really flexible now. And because of that, doesn't experience the pain that he had.
So imagine you're a golfer.
Yep.
You're out on the golfing course and you don't normally do flexibility training or anything. You're getting a little bit older. Your chicken breasts are all stuck together. Then you go for a drive off the first tee with a big iron, a big club. And you're going to take that ball right down the fairway. And all of a sudden, you've turned around, lots of rotational movement, lots of downward like an axe chop movement as you bring the club in. And all you've suddenly done is take your chicken breasts and wrench them out of position. It's a recipe for disaster.
Just a little.
So just think about your moist chicken breasts.
Nice, thanks, babe. That's good, yeah. So flexibility 5 times a week. All the stretches are out there for you on our Tojo YouTube channel. Next one, resistance training. That's a weird one in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
Resistance training, recommended at least twice a week for those with lower back pain. Why? Because it enhances the spinal stability, first of all. Spinal stability. Secondly, it helps to guard against further injury. And lastly, increases the limb strength.
So knitted up your spine are hundreds and hundreds of little muscles.
Yeah.
Literally hundreds of them,
Yep.
weaving their way up there, layer upon layer upon layer.
Longest muscle in the
your
body.
spine is the most important, other than the brain, the most important vital part of your body. So it is sheathed in this protective barrier of hundreds and hundreds of little muscles. Now, if one of those muscles goes into spasm, the muscle may be smaller than your little finger, but when one of them goes into spasm, you feel like you've broken your back. It isn't just one of the muscles is into spasm, but by strengthening those muscles, you strengthen the whole tower
That's right.
of your back.
That's right. So resistance training at least twice a week. And lastly, and my most favourite one, is core strength. Now, core strength, what that does is it will train the local muscle system. There are two muscle systems within the core. Most people only think about the abs. Oh, I can't find my abs. No. There's muscles underneath the abs, people. We've got the global system, which is the top layer of muscles. The local system, which are the local layer of muscles which are around the spine. Now, for those with lower back pain, my first 3 to 4 sessions, I will be working on switching on the local muscle system which are around your spine. And it looks as though all I've got is you laying on the floor. And it doesn't look like much. But the way I get you to do these exercises, we actually start switching on the core strength. And what this also does with core strength, this will later on train your functional movements in life. So when you come to do your hoovering, when you come to walk up the stairs, when you come to pick the grandkids up off the floor, because we've worked on core strength, you're able to do those things. Now, it does have to be performed with guidance. I've done like basic core strength on our YouTube channel, but I was always recommend to have a trainer with you, just so you're like, okay, is this right? Is this right? But core strength is huge.
Yeah, I think it's so important with, you mentioned there about having a trainer. And if you have issues with your back, one of the things which stops you often is just the sheer fear of making it worse. Yeah. This catastrophizing, this what if I break my back? And this is why it's very, very helpful to get, and we often there's this 2-1-2 approach, which is really helpful, is I always like to see people going and visiting a chiropractor. If necessary, get a GP and chiropractor and get some spinal x-rays if necessary, but working that with a personal trainer. Equally, people who have started off with personal trainers often will refer them to a chiropractor. And these two things, so there's physical manipulation going on, which can be very helpful at straightening things out.
Yeah.
But then the ongoing process of working with a PT, which is able to then build those muscles up to make sure that the tower remains strong going forward. And these two things working together. So you can give us a shout, give us a ring, give us an email, message us.
Yeah.
Would love to work with you. So many people, they say, I've had a back pain, or I did this, I was active, and then I had X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And they stop doing things
That's right.
out of fear, and then they can no longer do things.
And the thing is that when you start becoming sedentary from lower back pain, things like, for example, a sedentary lifestyle will automatically lead to a bit of overweightness.
Yeah.
Overweightness leads to obesity. Obesity leads to being pre-diabetic, pre-hypertensive.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, this very small little lower back pain that could have been solved right at the beginning has now snowballed.
Yeah.
And it's become bigger than what it should have been. And the thing is, when you said about personal trainers, I'm just going to start wrapping it up a little bit here. The role of the personal trainer, it's no longer one of these Hollywood glam, I've got a personal trainer. Personal trainers, it's more of a health trainer, isn't it? Because really, way over 50% of the population now have a medical condition.
Yeah.
now on some kind of drug. And having a personal trainer just means that you're staying within your boundaries, you're staying within your remit. You've got someone looking out for you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, this is why we trained the way we did. Yeah. This is our passion, is to try and reverse this slide into sedentary behaviour and into being overweight and into all the problems that come with that.
Yeah.
And there are answers, there are cures, there are solutions, and that doesn't always mean you lying on a hospital bed and being opened up and having spinal surgery. A lot of the time, these are simple solutions to what appears to be a very dramatic problem.
Yeah, that's right. So this has been Tojo Fitness, just a little bit of education with regards to lower back pain. If you need us, get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast.
Don't forget to follow us on at Tojo Fit on Instagram.
Yep.
Would you please subscribe to this channel? If you've listened all the way through to this,
well
hurrah!
Done.
Well done.
Yeah, Tojo points.
And join the gang.
Yeah, join the Tojo tribe. We would love to have you as part of the fam. You take care.